Welcome back to Play Action Fantasy Football. This is Week 10 running back rankings we're going over. It's going to be a good one. We're looking at a lot of different stuff here. And I'm going to try to give you a lot of information here today. So number one, we're going with Christian McCaffrey, obviously. He's been up there at my number one spot almost every single week. But this is a good matchup. Jacksonville has a decent defense, don't get me wrong. San Francisco coming off that bye. So I do see McCaffrey, obviously, easy number one. And before I go any further, I want to talk about buys real quick. We do have quite a few good teams on buys this week. I want to make note of that. Kansas City, Philadelphia, which would be Pacheco, McKinnon, Gainwell for Philadelphia, and Swift. And Miami, they have Mostert. And then lastly, the Los Angeles Rams, which would be Darrell Henderson in that group. So just to keep that in mind as I go through this. Number two, we're going to Breece Hall. He's going to have a hell of a game against the Chargers defense. They struggle against the run very badly. Breece Hall scored in every single game the past 3 games, and I see it continuing this week. So he's going to be a top 2, top 3 running back this week for sure. Number 3, Josh Jacobs. He's going to be at home against the Jets. This is another one where the matchup just lines up great for him. Josh Jacobs last week, he had 2 rushing touchdowns, and I think he's going to continue that flow against the Jets. So look for him there at that game. Number 4, Mixon, Joe Mixon. He's going to be at home against the Houston Texans, it's another good matchup. That's why he's up there at number 4. Houston struggling a little bit against the defense, against the rush. But the other thing that I honestly like about Mixon, and that's why I have him up there, is he had 5 catches last week. Joe Burrow likes to throw the ball to Joe Mixon, and Joe Mixon, we all know, gets a lot of rushes, obviously, and then he also gets the passes. So it's kind of hard to beat that. He might not put up exaggerant numbers like maybe McCaffrey or Hall or sometimes ETN, but the way this offense is playing and the way Mixon's playing, he's definitely going to get receptions and get yards, especially against Houston. So he's going to be solid there at number 4. Which brings me to number 5, Travis Etienne, at home against San Francisco. San Francisco is a good defense. Travis Etienne is a huge part of Jacksonville. He's their number 1 running back and their main running back. They don't have another. Bigsby isn't a big part of that. So Etienne, he's had a touchdown in every single game the past 4 games. And he's actually had 7 touchdowns over the past 4 games. I believe 6 were rushing and 1 was receiving. He had a bye week last week, so that was the 4 games before that. But he's going to continue this against San Francisco. He's going to have a very good day, although San Francisco has a good defense. Not going to be his best game of the year, but it's going to be a solid game from ETN. Number 6, Tony Pollard at home against the Giants. Giants, another good matchup for Pollard, as I like to put it. I think Pollard, he's had a rough week or 2. He hasn't been scoring a whole lot with this offense. I know Jake Ferguson's been eating a lot. CeeDee Lamb, they've been throwing the ball a lot. They've had to. But against the Giants, they're going to get a lead. Pollard's going to be running the ball a lot. It's going to be a bounce-back week for Pollard. And also, keep in mind, the last 2 weeks, he's faced good defenses. He's had less than 10 fantasy points over the past 2 weeks. So, like I said, this is the week for Pollard to bounce back against the Giants 100%, right there at number 6. Number 7, we're going to Austin Eckler at home against Detroit. Detroit is one of the best rush defenses in the league, or should I say against running backs as far as fantasy goes. They're number 2. So it's going to be a little bit tougher for Eckler to get points. However, this offense relies on Eckler so much, and we all know how talented Eckler is. So he's still going to get points. I don't care who he's facing. So I'm going to put him there at number 7. Number 8, Jonathan Taylor at New England. This is going to be a tough one. Taylor and Moss, obviously Taylor's been getting more of the usage more and more over the season goes. But Taylor, he's going to put up points. He's had over 3 receptions in all 3 of his last 3 games. So he's going to, that just goes to show you, especially with Minshew, he likes to throw the ball to him and get him out there, the coach likes to call that play, whatever the case may be. Taylor gets a lot more receptions. So I'm going to have to put Taylor up there in the top 10, number 8. And just because of his usage, he can get the ball. And we know how talented Taylor is, so not too much to go over. Number 9, we're going to Ramondre Stevenson at home against Indianapolis. this is a great matchup for this Patriot. Indianapolis is number 28 against running backs in fantasy. Stevenson last week, he had a 64-yard touchdown. He gets receptions as well. I think he averages about 4.5 receptions over the last 4 games. So obviously he gets receptions as well. And against Indianapolis, I do think Stevenson is going to have a very good day there at number 9. Number 10, Alvin Kamara at Minnesota. I wish I could put Kamara a little bit higher, but Minnesota has a very good defense. And Kamara, he started off very hot when he came back off his injury. Last week wasn't as hot, but I do think Kamara still is a very easy RB1, RB2, going to get you a lot of points kind of guy. So obviously Kamara is going to be up there at number 10. Number 11, Saquon Barkley. He's going to be at Dallas, who has a very good defense, especially against a run. And the Giants are now without Daniel Jones. So that brings in their backup quarterback. I do think that Barkley's going to have to step up. He's going to be getting a lot more runs. He's going to get the same amount of receptions probably, but he's going to be getting more runs, and he's going to be getting more points, especially in the red zone. So I look for Barkley to score a lot of points. Against Dallas, it can only be so limited, though, so I do expect in other games Barkley to do better, but I'm going to put Barkley there at number 11 right now. Number 12, Aaron Jones at Pittsburgh. This is another good matchup. Aaron Jones has been doing pretty good lately since he's come off his injury. He's had 20 attempts, 4 receptions against a good Los Angeles Rams last week, so I do think they're using him quite a bit, and against Pittsburgh, it's really going to show. So number 12, Aaron Jones. Number 13, King Henry at Tampa Bay. The reason King Henry's number 13 this week is because Tampa Bay is one of the best at stopping running backs. And to be honest with you, Titans offense, their offensive line is not impressive whatsoever. Derrick Henry is very impressive, though, so that's what keeps him in the mix. And he's definitely going to be putting up points, but I wouldn't expect anything too much from him. Number 14, Javonte Williams. I usually don't have him this high up here, but I'm going to put him up there this week at Buffalo. He's Javonte Williams for that Denver offense. He really he plays a big role. He definitely gets his usage in yardage and receptions. So Javonte Williams is solid number 14 at Buffalo, which could definitely be a more high scoring game than people think. We're going to number 15, Kenneth Walker. He's going to be at home against Washington. They've been doing decently on defense, and Walker really struggled last week against the Ravens. They were even at home against the Ravens, and he struggled a lot. I think he had less than 5 fantasy points, but that was the first time he did that all year. So I'm not too worried about it. He's going to be at number 15 this week. I don't think he has a tremendous week as he had before, but he's still going to put up points. So Kenneth Walker there at number 15. Number 16, we're going to James Cook at home against the terrible Denver Broncos defense. It's hard not to put him there. Denver's dead last, 32 against running backs in fantasy. So I know James Cook has been kind of inconsistent this year. He started off really slow, had some good games, started off slow again. But I think this is his bounce back week against Denver. They're going to be at Bills. They're going to be at home. It's going to be a good matchup for James Cook. He's definitely going to be getting points. So he's going to be a solid there at number 16. Number 17, that's going to be a little more iffy. We're talking about Khalil Herbert. He's questionable. Again, we record this on Mondays, so keep that in mind. Khalil Herbert is going to be questionable for this game against Carolina. They're at home Thursday night, and that's what also worries me is it's a Thursday night game. It's not like it's a Sunday game, so we really have to keep a very close eye on that. He might be ready to go. He might not. We do not know at this point. But I do think that if he is playing against Carolina, that's a good matchup for him. And I do believe Khalil Herbert is a very strong running back, and they like him there in Chicago as RB1. So if he does play, he's going to get points there at number 17. Number 18, we're going to Bijan Robinson at Arizona. I mean, it's hard to not put a running back at Arizona or against Arizona, who's one of the dead last against running backs. Hard not to put him up there. He's a rookie. He started off pretty hot. However, they've kind of dialed it back, as that whole kind of offense has. Now they're sitting Desmond Ridder. They have Heineke playing. that whole offense is really a mess right now. So I'm going to have to put Bijan down there at number 18 against a very bad Arizona team. I expect him to get points, but who's to say how many? Number 19, Brian Robinson. It always seems like Bijan and Brian Robinson, they're always like very close to each other for some reason. But anyways, Brian Robinson at Seattle. It's gonna be a tough one, I think, for Brian. Seattle's gonna come out with fire after what happened to them last week. However, Brian Robinson, he started off very hot. He was a top 10 running back the first couple weeks, first 2, 3, 4 weeks. But as time played on, he's kind of dropped off a little bit. Last week, he started to play a little bit better. So I do think this week is going to be one of those better weeks for him. Not that he's going to have a great day, but I do think it's going to be one of his better days. So he's going to be there at number 19. Number 20, we're going to David Montgomery, another questionable person. He's been out for a few weeks with a rib injury. They had a bye last week, so he had time to rest up a little bit. I think he is going to be playing. Again, this is Monday that we record, so keep that in mind. But we're going to have to watch and see what David Montgomery is going to be doing. But if he does play against the Chargers defense, who's obviously struggling, especially against the run, I think Montgomery is going to be getting a solid amount of points there. Number 21, we're going to go to Alexander Mattison. He's going to be at home against New Orleans, who's one of the best run defenses in the league. Or should I say one of the best one of the best defenses against fantasy running backs. But either way, at the end of the day, when I look at this, I'm looking at Alexander Mattison, Cam Akers, Kirk Cousins, Josh Dobbs. Kirk Cousins is out now. Josh Dobbs is playing. Alexander Mattison, he takes on a big role in that Minnesota offense. And now Akers is gone, his running back behind him, who was a good backup. And Justin Jefferson is out. So now they're kind of relying on Alexander Mattison and TJ Hawkinson. And I do think even though they're facing New Orleans, it's going to be a good day for Mattison, as Akers is out for who knows how long. He's going to have better matchups down the road. But he's going to be a solid one there at number 21 with Akers out with his Achilles. Number 22, we're going to Najee Harris. I don't know if I've had him in here more than once or twice in the top 25. I don't think Najee Harris usually is a top 20 running back. However, this week I'm putting him at number 22 against Green Bay. Najee Harris has been slowly improving this year. Maybe it's just the way the offense is flowing, but against Green Bay, who's been pretty bad on defense, or I guess they had a good week last week. However, they've been giving up a lot of points on defense. So I do think Najee Harris has a chance at actually having a good day this week, but he's going to be right there at number 22. Number 23, we're going to Chuba Hubbard at Chicago. Chuba Hubbard's been stepping up over Miles Sanders, and that's why I do put him up there at number 23, because Miles Sanders, he just isn't producing as much as Hubbard is, and they started to give Hubbard a little more usage. And they're facing Chicago, who is number 27 against the running backs in fantasy. Now, Chuba Hubbard didn't have his best week last week, which kind of could open the doors for Sanders to start getting a little bit more touches. However, I don't really see that happening quite yet this week, so I'm going to put Chuba Hubbard there at 23. Number 24, we're going to Kareem Hunt at Baltimore. Kareem Hunt, usually I would put him a little bit higher if it was a better matchup, but Baltimore is a very good defense, as we all have seen. 9 might be doing them a little bit of a disservice, honestly. So Kareem Hunt, number 24, he's gonna get touches. He's gonna get receptions. He has a good chance at getting in the end zone for the Browns offense. So he has to be up there at number 24. Number 25, I'm going to Tyler Algier. This might be the week for Tyler Algier. This, as we know, as I said before, Bijan. This Atlanta offense, they're a little unpredictable right now. They like to use Tyler Algier as much as they do Bijan. And they got this whole quarterback situation going, and they're going up against a terrible defense. So I think that offense is gonna produce, and Tyler Algier will be a part of that. So he's gonna be our last spot there at number 25. So don't forget about him. And that's going to do it, though, for our Week 10 running back rankings. This is Jonathan again. I hope you guys enjoyed. I want you guys to go comment. Let us know what you think. Please hit subscribe and like. And most of all, have a great fantasy football weekend.